in the wake of the Supreme Court's recent decision to give former presidents broad immunity from prosecution, former President Trump's sentencing in his hush money case has been postponed until the fall.
The judge in the case agreed to push back after Trump's attorneys argued that the recent ruling invalidated the verdict. This means Trump will not know of his sentencing as he's being formally nominated at the RNC in just a few weeks. For more on this, we're going to send things over to KRON 4's Catherine Heenan, who is joined by East Bay Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We did not have to dig deep to find stuff to talk about.
No.
All right, so the Supreme Court decision, the court gave fairly broad immunity to presidents and former presidents in terms of official acts. For starters, Congressman, what does this do to the January 6th case?
It puts everything at risk as far as holding a president accountable. It's an assassination attempt on our democracy. And during the same week that we're celebrating our independence from a monarchy, this Supreme Court, the half of them appointed by Donald Trump in this opinion, two of them had no business deciding this. You had Justices Alito and Thomas, who both had spouses who were sympathizing and almost rooting on the insurrectionists. And so it's quite alarming. But it's not just the Supreme Court that is alarming right now. What's alarming is that Donald Trump has bragged that he'd be a dictator on day one. And so that means everything that makes America work, from the CIA to the FBI to the State Department to the services that protect everyday Americans, they're all at risk. And so I'm going to focus on what I can do in the House of Representatives and make sure that the House of Representatives hopefully is a flame that lights the second term agenda for President Biden, or God forbid, is the firewall that protects us against Donald Trump.
All right, can we talk about the debate? You said you were a little surprised. I think some people were surprised the State of the Union went so well. Why would Joe Biden, Congressman, and his team agree to a debate at all, or one this early?
Eager to draw the contrast. And yes, you know, a good man had a bad night, but I don't worry as much about what happened for 1 hour last week as much as I think about the next 4 years or 40 years for my kids and kids like them. And I'm not trying to overreact to this or offer you some, cheap political gimmick. We know what it looks like to have Donald Trump as president, and we know what rights could be taken away. For example, women in America for 50 years were protected by Roe. And then, like that, Donald Trump, poof, stole it and took it away. And so that's what's at stake here. So I'm not going to worry about, Biden's performance as much as what is the cost of Donald Trump coming back into office.
All right, some people are saying, hey, you can't have a bad night as president. You shared a debate stage with him. You debated Joe Biden 2019. Let me just ask, what kind of changes, if any, did you observe from 2019 to what you saw the other night?
The president, I think, overcomplicated the case. The case is simple. He is a jobs president. He should just run as Joe Jobs. Millions of Americans during COVID were standing in Donald Trump's unemployment line. Joe Biden took them out. And most people who have received one of those 16 million jobs in America today are making more than the job they had before. So that's a jobs presidency. And so he needs to just keep it simple, and then also contrast as to what it would be like for Donald Trump, who proudly wants to be a dictator on day one, who boasts that he's the one that took away the protections for women under Roe, that he cannot, as a 34-count convicted felon, get back in the White House.
Hey, I remember that night in 2019. You got a lot of... You were a baby? Well, counter baby. I remember you got buzz for saying to Joe Biden, time to pass the torch to the younger generation. Any of that still resonate?
He's holding the torch right now as president, and who holds that torch next is what I'm most worried about.
So does he still have your full support,
yes,
Congressman?
Yes.
And if for whatever reason he does not follow through to November, do you see anyone out there who could qualify to step in?
We have...
You don't want to...
We have unlimited talent, but I'll just tell you this. Donald Trump has been a perennial loser since 2016. His best night was November 2016. He lost the House in 2018. He lost the White House in 2020. We won the Senate in 2020. In 2022, we added a seat in the Senate. We know how to beat Donald Trump. So I'm not going to sulk or hide under the bed. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that he is never in the White House again.
All right, back to Biden and the debate. Should there be another debate in a matter of, well, September, a matter of not too many weeks away?
Yes, and President Biden, needs to rise to the occasion and show us that this was not just one bad night.
All right, let me go back to the Supreme Court decision. Not inconsequential, Congressman, that now everything almost certainly is going to be pushed back until after November. How much does that matter?
Well, it matters because now the voters will essentially be deciding, is this election about Donald Trump escaping accountability? Because if he's president, all of his cases will go away. And he, unlike any other American who is held accountable for their acts, he would escape accountability. And so it actually makes it a referendum on, are we a country that follows the rule of law for everyone, or are we not?
All right, so what would you, not that you're necessarily advising him, but what would you tell Joe Biden to be out there doing right now?
Just to keep it simple. Define the stakes. You're a Jobs presidency. Run as Joe Jobs, Joe freaking Jobs, Joey Jobs. Make it blue collar because that's who he is. And make sure that people understand, that Donald Trump would preside over a me, mean, meme presidency. It would be all about me, Donald Trump. It would be cruel and mean as he carried out his vengeance campaign against his opponents, and it would be memed by other countries who would look at America and decline if we went back to Donald Trump.
It sounds like at the moment anyway, it could be kind of a steep hill to climb. Voices, including Democratic voices, getting louder, saying, maybe this shouldn't happen. But how much does that concern you?
America is a comeback story, and Joe Biden led the greatest, economic comeback in our lifetime after COVID. So I'm rooting for him to have one more comeback in him, but he needs to show us in the next, week that he can do that. And I'm confident he can, but he needs to get out there and start making that case and keep it simple.
All right, and even when you said the next week, I'm like, whoa, that's what's coming up in the next week? What can he do in a matter of days to turn this around?
Well, NATO leaders are visiting Washington very soon, and again, he can show our leadership on the world stage. But again, just making it clear to everyday Americans that he understands that there's a job to finish on the economy. But the day after the debate, when we woke up, we still had 16 million jobs created by Joe Biden. We were still in NATO. We still saw a stock market that was roaring. And so he needs, to lean into that, but to simplify it. He's not trying to win a Harvard Law School moot court competition. He's trying to win a gut check with millions of Americans. And he's done it before, and we need to see him do it again.
All right, you said the day after we woke up, and I was a little surprised, as were, I think, other people, that media outlets, including the New York Times, a lot of voices were like right in there right away saying, uh-oh, everybody panic.
Yeah, and I get it. It was frustrating to watch. It was hard to watch somebody who has done so much for the country. It was hard for me to watch as a former prosecutor that the President of the United States had to stand next to a felon for 90 minutes. I mean, that was actually undignified that he had to even stand there next to him. But again, he knows what he needs to do. And, it's time for him to show us, as I said, in the coming week, that he can do it.
All right. And that's... sounds like good advice. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
All right, Congressman Swalwell, thank you. We appreciate your time. Back to you.